Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our reading of St. Augustine's Confessions. We happen to be in Book B, and I'm going to share with you paragraph number 2. It's number 2. It is about the wicked, and I found it to be quite insightful. So I wanted to go ahead and do a video on it. Let's begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let the wicked go upon their way and fly from you, for they know no rest. But your eye can pierce the darkness, you can see them. Something that I wanted to call your attention to was, for they know, the wicked know no rest. So when you're trying to create a mission, an objective, a goal to combat evil, right? And you're getting worn out, tired, and you don't feel very motivated. Know that you're keeping up the good fight, because evil never rests. It doesn't take time off. So if you're feeling like you're not really up for that crusade, that jihad, I would tell you to keep going and not to be too hard on yourself, because if everyone is combating evil, it helps keep it away, because peace is only temporary. But your eye can pierce the darkness, you can see them. All the world about them teems with beauty, and they alone defile it. So the wicked defile beauty. That's another thing to take from this. Something is beautiful and it becomes defiled. Think about which movements invert. Women slicing off their breasts, and people making each other eunuchs. Balenciaga with their ad that utilized children to advertise some of their products which had BDSM themes to it. So defiling something, right? That shows you the wickedness of that person. Lil Nas X mocking Jesus, peace be upon him. What harm have they been able to inflict on you? Have they been able to bring disgrace upon your rule, which reaches in its indivisible justice from the heights of heaven to the meanest things of earth? Where did they find refuge when they turned from your face and fled? What hiding place can they find where you cannot seek them out? So here he's mentioning how no one can hide from the Christian God. We in Islam know that Allah is all-seeing, all-wise. Nothing can escape his will. So there's no place on earth where you're gonna hide and think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't see you. So we see a little bit of an overlap in that sentence with the Christian thought and the Islamic thought. They have fled and hidden their eyes from you, knowing that yours are on them. Now this is also potent. So they think by not focusing on God that they somehow can escape justice, that you can ignore it and it doesn't exist. We do that in areas of our life. We should know, though, that there's something higher than us, because what we focus on, it exists in that time. We say out of sight, out of mind, but the sights are always on us, no matter what. They are blind and do not see the God they have offended. But you are there, because you abandon no part of your creation. Aha! So you abandon no part of your creation. Ayatul Kursi, the verse of the throne. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't feel any fatigue in guarding and preserving his dominion. Okay? There's no part that's going to be like, you can't be seen, it's do whatever you will here. No. Now, people forget, oh, you can hide from the government and their surveillance state. You know, you can build some tunnels and avoid the secular bureaucracy. But God is not someone who you can build some tunnels to escape. Because He knows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in your chest. He knows the seen and the unseen. He knows what we reveal and what we don't reveal. They have offended against your justice, and for this they have justly suffered, because they have stolen away from your gentle mercy, and sinned against your law, and so they have fallen down upon your anger. Clearly the wicked do not know that you are everywhere, but you are not bound within the limits of any place. So he acknowledges that God isn't bound by anything. He's not limited by anything. So for us as Muslims, we would say that Allah is the mighty and sublime. Okay, to be mighty, you're not going to be limited in the same way as the creation. Alright? We have to remember that, how do you put it? There's not going to be some place where you're not going to have your deeds recorded. There's angels recording you. There's jinns looking at you. Your body will bear testament against you. There's nothing where you can escape. Allah's never going to say, I'm going to take a day off and you guys can just go about your business, and there'll be no accounting for what you do. There's not like an anarchy day. Let them then turn back and look for you. They will find that you have not deserted your creatures as they have deserted their Creator. Let them turn back and they will find you in their hearts. In their hearts of all who confess to you and throw themselves upon your mercy. In hearts of all who have left the hard path and come to weep upon your breasts. Gently you wipe away their tears, they weep the more. But now their tears are tears of joy, because it is not some man of flesh and blood but you, O Lord, their Maker, who remakes them and consoles them. Now, I don't think... I know he's being poetic here by saying, gently wipe away their tears, weep upon your breast. So it's like, I get he doesn't mean literal, but it is a little creepy, in my opinion. Like, that God is embracing you like that. I would imagine it more as you would just be on your knees or prostrate in front. Can't say just in front. I don't know how you would describe it. But that you would be on your knees and crying in shame, you know, and in front of like Allah's mighty throne. Don't think Allah's gonna pick you up and hold you and caress you like a baby. See, but the Christians see God as the Father, right? They say, we're the children, right? So they have a sort of paternalistic energy around their language here. So he uses vocabulary and synonyms around that for his metaphors. We are slaves of Allah. The slave owner isn't going to embrace the slave in that way, nor does the slave want to be embraced that way by the master. So I would say that we would be humble ourselves and wipe away our own tears, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would allow us to rise again strong. But the coddling, the physical cuddling is not, we would see the face of Allah if we are allowed to. But embracing, I don't know if we would write that kind of stuff. Because then you would be comparing Allah to His creation, from my understanding. Unless you're saying it befits His Majesty, but tiny little arms, I don't think it work to embrace something. We don't know how big Allah will be or what that is or anything, how Allah looks. you know? But remember, there's this faction of they think Jesus was literally God. So if you are shrinking God down into the pathetic human form, then obviously that's different, right? But that's a whole nother conversation. That was the end of paragraph 2 concerning the wicked. And then there was something here that I wanted to discuss, and he was going on about astronomers in paragraph 3. So I wanted to just share that little excerpt with you, which goes as follows. These powers are a source of wonder and astonishment to men who do not know the secrets, but the astronomers are flattered and claim the credit for themselves. They lapse into pride without respect for you, my God, and fall into shadow away from your light. But although they can predict an eclipse of the sun so far ahead, they cannot see that they themselves are already in the shadow of eclipse. This is because they ignore you and do not inquire how they come to possess the intelligence to make these researches. Even when they discover that it was you who made them, they do not submit to you so that you may preserve what you have made, nor such as their own efforts have made them. Do they offer themselves to you in sacrifice? Their conceit soars like a bird. So, conceitedness. If you talk to people who are really into astrology, they're like, oh, this moon means this, you have to do this, do that. Instead of being kind of like, that's a wondrous thing, they go a bit occultic, and they think because they're able to examine such star charts or whatever the heck, that somehow means God doesn't exist and that all religions are false. And I found that to be bizarre. So when they lapse into pride and start rebelling against God and attacking religion because they have predicted, as he mentioned, moon patterns, it is quite odd. You see this a lot when the Mayan calendar came about, and the different ways people measure time. Some pagan tribes measuring it on a turtle shell. You know, who's got that calendar? How Islam has its calendar. How people measure time is very interesting. And the astrologers and astronomers, they really kind of overboard at times. And when he mentioned that they do not submit to you, I found that to be interesting, because we are not supposed to go to soothsayers or pay some astrologer to tell us, you know, when we should do something because the moon and the stars and the planets are in a certain alignment, because that's shirk, right? And if a jinn is feeding knowledge to some person who's versed in the dark arts, they're gonna tell like a couple truths and then mix in a bunch of lies and keep looping in people for their money. That would cause a lot of chaos, and you would be committing shirk. You'd be leaving the path of Tawheed, and you would be proving that you are not accepting Allah's rules of just worshipping Him. You are seeking other than Allah for your help, right? And so the astronomers, getting this type of ego and their conceitedness and indulgence of themselves, and their ego soars like a bird. Their curiosity probes the deepest secrets of nature like a fish that swims in the sea, and their lust grows fat like a beast of pasture. But they slaughter none of these. Yet if they make this sacrifice to you, O God, you are the consuming fire that can burn away their love for the things and recreate the men in immortal life. Now, again, their lust grows fat like a beast at pasture. So they get a taste of, okay, we're noticing these patterns here, we've tracked it. How deeper can we go into reality? How much more can we dig up? And this can sometimes go into some spooky realms if they don't manage what's their intention, right? What is their aim? There's another part here, farther down, that I thought was insightful. This is why they do not find him, or if they do find him and have the knowledge of God, they do not honor him or give thanks to him as God. So when they get this knowledge, they don't pay respect to their maker. Rather, they attribute it to their own intellect. They become fantastic in their notions. They who claim to be so wise attribute to themselves what is yours. So attribute to themselves what is yours, I think, is really beneficial for us Muslims, especially people who are students of knowledge, to remember that all knowledge comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we can only enter knowledge as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits. So he could totally strike us with dementia, Alzheimer's, concussion, mental retardation, make us go blind so that we can't even read, make us go deaf so we can't hear, can cause all kinds of ailments that will restrict our ability to gain knowledge. We have all the healthiness, so we're allowed and permitted to gain the knowledge and then grasp it, remember it, and spread it. It's because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just because of us. So we have to attribute that credit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the same perverse blindness, they try to ascribe their own qualities to you. They even attribute falsehoods to you who are truth itself. They exchange the glory of the imperishable God for representations of perishable man, of bird and beast and reptile. They exchange your truth for a lie, reverencing and worshipping the creature in preference to the Creator. So, worshipping the creature in preference to the Creator. This one has also helped a lot of people to see that if they examine it, Shaitan was created. People often confuse Shaitan as like an equal power to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The discussion of evil is a long one, but it should not be confused that in Islam, if you are worshipping Shaitan, we Muslims know you are worshipping something created. That's why we don't worship anything other than Allah, because that would be inferior. We worship the one who made us, the one who's in control, possesses all knowledge, possesses all power, can never be killed, never sleeps, never tires, never sick. The vision that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has that befits His majesty can't be escaped. Shaitan was a rebellious jinn, and a jinn is not as powerful as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have to remember that. So if you worship the creature in preference to the Creator, you're not really looking for truth. You are very misguided. Let me know what you think. It's a very tense, serious section, but it's got a lot of meat on the bone, as they say, and I quite enjoy that. If you'd like to join the blog and support the channel, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilhanArchive. Hope to see you there.